A couple months back I beat Final Fantasy X with only Tidus, and I thought, why not do it again? Then and there I decided, let's try and beat the game with every character solo at least once, and what better way to start that journey with the best girl? Hello everyone, welcome back to another challenge video. This time we'll be beating Final Fantasy X with Rikku Only. It's going to be the time that we answer the age-old question, can we save the world with only Rikku? Well, no. There is going to be a good portion of the game where Rikku will be unavailable to us. Well, no matter. Let's just allow some characters the time to shine before the real hero takes over. Of course, everyone must be thinking, but Mr. Goblin, Rikku is so overpowered. How can this even be any sort of challenge? Well, my friends, you are absolutely right. Some restrictions will have to be added to make this fair. Of course, it is still a solo challenge, so no overkill on the restrictions. It is different than if you were using the old party after all. So before we begin, let's go through the rules. Rule number 1. Rikku only, of course. Rule number 2. Just like the previous video, Rikku will only be able to use her own sphere grid. I will be using the expert sphere grid, but that's for preference. Rule number 3. Apart from one exception, and unless forced to by the game, Rikku will not be able to use her overdrive. Ever. Apart from one time. Rule number 4. Only Rikku can level up, of course. However, for the parts that we will not be able to use Rikku, since it's not going to be a challenge, it's only a normal sphere grid game anyway, I will be allowing Tidus to learn Flee. Rule number 5. No overkill on the grind, no overkill on the customization. Farming for items will be allowed, or else Rikku cannot attack, of course. But let's try to keep it reasonable. No 99 of every item and just break everything. Alright? And that is it. So before we get started, of course, if you do enjoy my content, please do leave a like and a subscribe so you don't miss out on more videos like these, or miss out on the Let's Plays that I usually do on the channel. With that said, without further ado, let us begin. So of course we start the game in Zanarkand, we give Tidus his appropriate name and just skip through the rest of the intro. Just auto battle through the whole Zanarkand. Eventually we get stranded and meet Click, the first boss of the challenge. Of course, while I still only have Tidus, I just attack the boss until Rikku comes out, in which I immediately kill Tidus as soon as I'm allowed. I make sure to steal some grenades, use them against the boss itself and heal when needed, and eventually win the fight with the strongest basic attack you'll ever see. We then get kidnapped and ride forced toward for the Albed. While underwater, I make sure to steal plenty of grenades for later, make sure to activate Rikku's first HP node, which in the expert grid you don't even have to get a level for. Not much grinding actually needed. And after some expert computering, we fight Truss, and we reach the only time I will ever use Rikku's overdrive. In my mind, as this boss fight means absolutely no challenge to me, as you have the appropriate levels that usually fight it anyway, I just mix 2 grenades, somehow create a water attack and just one-shot the boss. After this, we go back to the ship, immediately get yeeted off to be saved, because good guy Sin wants to move the plot forward, and we meet Aurochs and just let Wakka hit some fish in the face with his balls. From this point forward, the challenge will be on pause. I gave Tidus Flee for this reason, I just use it to skip random encounters. At this point, I'm just going to skip forward the sections until we get to Rikku. Of course, along the way, do make sure to get the Luck Sphere in the Kilika Forest. Get a Jack Shot on your way to Luca, and before the Blazeball game, I get the free HP and Magic Spheres before moving to the game itself. Of course, I use the Jack Shot to win the Blitzball game and get my free Strength Sphere, and in the Minhan Old Road, after the Chocobo Eater, I make sure to get the free Fortune Sphere. Random encounters, just run from them, use Aeons wherever you need to do. Before the Seed Spawn Gui, make sure you buy the Sentry Weapon for Auron. For the future, it has initiative so that will prevent ambushes, which is not forbidden in the challenge. Equipment for other characters is fair game. And since spawn Gui, I just use all my Aeons and their overdrives. I use Power Break with Auron to make sure that I don't get one shot, and of course make sure that either Waka, Lulu or Kimahri can hit the head before it does Venom. This will be dependent on no Sphere Grid, it might just take you up to an hour. On the second fight, ask him or just let Seymour solo it, why not? Past that we have Jose, and after Jose we've got Moonflow. During the fight with the Extractor, just use Tidus' low touch weapon that you can get from a Waka in Luca, and Lightning Strike from Waka that you can get in Mihan, so you can easily beat the Extractor. And then...
I was done for back there.
At last the hero is here, of course. Rikku, welcome back to the party, baby. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cheat a tutorial. I'm gonna steal the true bomb cores from the chest, and I'm gonna use 2 attribute spheres. You can use power spheres, ability spheres, sphere spheres, whatever you want to do to use a frag grenade and save those bomb cores for later. And then I'm gonna spend some time doing a bit of grinding. I need to get me plenty of Antarctic winds so I can actually attack. I want to get myself at least 1 stamina tablet and 8 to 10 dragon scales. This will be needed for the future. Moving past Guado Salam, go to the far plane, and on the way back get the 8 lighting marbles from the chest so that you can put lighting proof on an armor for Rikku. She is now pretty much unkillable in the Thunder Plains as soon as you use your items right. Of course, make sure to equip Auron with Sentry Weapon to prevent ambushes. Is it cheap? Yes. Do I care? No. Use Antarctic Winds to kill everything here, and when you are alone with the elementals, just equip your lightning proof. You cannot die, just steal electro marbles before you auto-battle them to death. It is at this point that I remember something very important that I forgot. I immediately turn back to Luca, take the boat back to Kilika so I can fight the good old Lord Ochu. At this point I have no issues whatsoever, I just use antidotes and keep my HP up, and then just use Poison Fangs or Bomb Cores to overkill them, and I make sure that I can overkill them. This way I can have a chance at 2 HP spheres. It is rare, so I just keep getting MP spheres, but eventually after resetting the game multiple times, I eventually get my 2 HP spheres. Of course, after that I go back to the Thunder Plains. I make sure to steal some lunar curtains from the purple face things, and some light curtains from the Iron Giants, and I also try to get some Chocobo feathers from the Cactuars before moving forwards to Macalania. With the dragon scales that I farmed in Guado Salam, I put waterproof on Riku's armor, and just like before I use Antarctic Winds or Electro Marbles to kill everything, and then just steal fish scales from the elementals. Eventually you get to this Ferrymorph boss fight. And this boss fight is not about brute force, it's more about its mechanics. I start the fight by buffing up, of course, haste, protect and shell, and then start to attack. The boss counters with one of the 4 elements, and whichever one the boss uses, it will be the boss will counter with one of the 4 elements, and whichever one the boss uses, it will be weak to the opposing one. Use an elemental item from the opposite element, and the boss will then swap affinities. Attack again to find out which element he is weak to, and just repeat the process. If you want to make sure you never die, just switch elements until he swaps to an element you have a proof armor to protect yourself, and just use auto battle until you win. Heal of course when needed. I did not do so that the fight would not take 84 years. With Ferrymorph down, we have the Crawler. Same story, haste and protect. The negator does not negate items, so you can do that freely. And then just use the Electro and Lightning Marbles. Do not kill the negator so that the boss does not start countering attack. The Gatling gun does not do enough damage to be a worry. Seymour, however, now that's different. I didn't have any troubles in the first phase, however, I am not fast enough to kill Anima before it kills me, with items at least. At some point I actually thought I might have to use an overdrive to win and break my rules, and then I saw an ability in my menu. Spare change. I tried it, and with boost active, 60,000 gil does 9,000 damage. So I just need money and to win, right? First phase, like I said, pretty easy. Poison Fang on Seymour, steal from the guards to stop auto potion, or just throw a petrify grenade that you can get from the snakes, the stone snakes in Jose. Use a lunar curtain and a chocobo feather, and he will eventually have to summon his mama to help. Then immediately just toss 60,000 gil twice, and bam, there goes the hag. After that, just toss another Poison Fang. Just use whatever items. He does not have enough strength to kill me with Shell. I have enough HP to survive. And Seymour goes down. No overdrives needed. Of course, while you do the Macalania trials, make sure to get the Luck Sphere with the Destruction Sphere. And then run. Kill enemies you face with any items you got left. I also took the opportunity to stock back on damage items here. Wendigo can be easy and difficult. If you're smart, you just throw a Petrify Grenade if you have one. If you're not, if you're like me and have a Petrify Grenade and don't use it, that means that Wendigo will now be berserked. Which means he can now one-shot me. Luckily, he attacked the Oran first, so I had time to use the Light Curtain and kill the Guados. I then killed the annoying Stalker next to me and proceed to use a Smoke Bomb on the boss. Once again, my lack of smart shows its face, as I completely forgot that it can be put to sleep. So, almost at the end of the fight, I finally decide to try in Sleeping Powder, that you can get from the wolves here, and then I just kept spamming Antarctic Winds for the win. Great job, me. And Bicanel, kill everything with smoke bombs, everything can be inflicted with darkness. Try to steal some sleeping powders and dream powders, of course everything can also be put to sleep. And try to steal a silver hourglass from the armored drakes here before you move on to the plants. I died twice. Now for the plants, one of them is mandatory of course, however there is another one that I do recommend that you fight. It will be guarding a chest with 2 teleport spheres, which I definitely want, so I make sure to kill that one. The plants are weak, they do not have enough damage to scare me, the confusion will be a non-issue because Riku's attack power is so low anyway, and I eventually remembered that they can also be put to sleep. So I just threw a sleeping powder, I stole some remedies, and then I just rained down hell with my items. Rinse and repeat for the other one. In a home, of course, I make sure to steal as many bomb cores as possible, and then proceed to use smoke bombs and sleeping powders for the rest. For the chimeras, use silence grenades if you have any. From the plants, see Jose if you wanted to get them, and just use some smoke bombs. As long as you have them, that's most of their move set nullified. If you have them, of course, everything here can be petrified with petrify grenades, which is just what I used. Onto the airship now. Evray is painful. I start by buffing up, of course. If you manage to get a silver hourglass, use it. Like I said, I died twice getting this. And then just use a smoke bomb. At this point, I tried to steal some water gems. I hope I don't get petrified. It did not work. 6 times. On my 7th try, I got lucky enough that Stone Gaze missed, so I got to the haste phase. At this point, it is a race against time. Stone Gaze can happen more often, Poison Breath can happen more often, and I no longer have the same amount of turns as before. At this point, if you try to slow him, he will just counter with haste. Of course, with the help of good old spare change, I managed to do enough damage before Stone Gaze even happens. Definitely the unexpected MVP of the challenge. Money does solve everything, huh? Before I fight anything in Bavel, I use one of the teleport spheres I got from Bicanel to put evade and counter on Riku's weapon and equip my fireproof armor. Riku is pretty much immortal now. Just make sure to kill the one-legged machines first, they are weak to fire and water. Kill the ranged machina ASAP, same story because both of them can actually kill you. The soldiers? Who cares? On Via Purifico, I just cheese the first section. On the Yuna section, I just use Yuna and escape if possible. In the water section, Riku is once again immortal with evade counter plus smoke bombs, and everything here can be petrified as well. Thank God I farmed petrify grenades in Jose. With Evray Altana, I got lucky as he did not use Stone Gaze on Riku, so I had more than enough time to just toss 2 Phoenix Sounds for the win. Thank God for the distractions. On the Eye Bridge, I just run from everything. If you're feeling brave, go ahead and farm. There's almost no better place to farm than this. And then I suffer the wrath of Seymour Tidus. On the first phase, just like before, he uses ice, thunder, water, and fire in that order, and then repeat. So I make sure to swap my armors accordingly. The Morty Body has 4000 HP and can be The Morty Body has 4000 HP and can be killed, in which he will drain that HP back from Seymour. It will lose 1000 HP every time you kill it until it reaches a minimum of 1000 HP. The first 2 tries I am unlucky. I did not do enough damage. At 24,000 HP he goes into petrification mode. I still do not have a stoneproof armor, so I just died to it twice. Unable to do enough damage. Nice. On my third try I get lucky. I somehow get him to 22,000 HP and immediately use Spare Change to do 7,000 damage to him. The Morty Body attacks Rikku and she counters, killing it, doing another 4,000 damage to Seymour, which completely skips the break phase. At this point, thanks to Shell, I can survive all these flares and have more than enough turns to heal and do damage. Poison helps, of course. Seymour goes down and the Calm Lands are next. In the Calm Lands, fortunately, evade and counter plus fireproof means that Rikku is immortal against most fiends. I make sure to stock up on fire gems, poison fangs, and dream powders. I run from the tougher enemies, especially Malboros. I buy an auto medicine armor from the Overcraft before I proceed to Defender X, which is a pushover. I cast haste on myself and protect, and then I just throw some items. I heal when needed and haste again in case he uses Slowgun. Gagazet, same story. Komari can just use Lancet to kill off Baran and Yankee, but who cares about that? It's all about Rikku, right? Rikku cannot die if you play it right. When you get to Wands, make sure to buy some Holy Waters and get the Survivor weapon from him for the Alchemy ability, and then put in Evade and Counter again, and either Initiative or First Strike, both of them work very well. Also, before you proceed, make sure to get the HP Sphere from the chest. Seymour was very easy. I poison him first and then put haste on Rikku. Auto Medicine takes care of Lance of Atrophy as it heals the zombie before full life. For Cross Cleave, I have more than enough HP with Protect. Total Annihilation though was worrying me. Luckily, I do have just enough HP thanks to all the HP spheres that I've got, so I can just survive it as well as the flares. If you can get a Purifying Salt from the soldiers in the High Bridge, it is a rare steal, you can use it so that he flares himself, and he eventually just dies to poison. By far, the easiest Seymour. The Sanctuary Keeper is a funny story. If you watch my Tidus solo challenge, this was by far the hardest of the bosses. With Rikku though, this boss is a complete pushover. Before you get to the boss, I make sure that I fight a Dark Flank so I can get 1 Star Curtain, that's all I need. As soon as the boss starts, I toss a Star Curtain on the boss so that he gets Reflect. I toss a gold Hourglass that I got from the Red Drakes in Gagazet. And now he is going to start to use haste on himself to counter the slow. It will be reflected onto me, and with luck, the first one that got haste reflected onto was Rikku, which means free Chocobo Feather. I immediately toss a Smoke Bomb and a Poison Fang, and I just enjoy the show as he slowly dies in front of me, unable to do anything. Spectral Keeper is a bit of a difficult boss. However, I got extremely lucky. The RNG gods smiled upon me. For some reason, Berserk Ward, that I just had in my inventory, I don't even remember how I got it, it just made it so that Rikku never got berserked. The strat is very simple. Hasten Protect on Rikku, move her to where she is not hit by the counterattack, and then hit the boss and watch him completely miss Rikku. You can summon Glyph Mines, which will instantly kill you if your characters are in the spot that they are summoned into. However, I got extremely lucky once again, and the 2 times that he summoned it was in spots that Rikku was not in, which meant 3 turns. Thank you, RNG gods, for smiling upon me at least once. And thank you for immediately stabbing me in the back. Unaleska. What a bitch you turned out to be, huh? First phase, very simple. Throw items, keep your HP above 50% and you will never die. No point buffing, as she will eventually remove my buffs. Second phase, use auto medicine. Plus holy waters, you cannot die. She will even heal you for your troubles eventually. Third phase is different though. Before you take care of the second phase, make sure that you are zombified. First attack on third phase will be Mega Death. And if you are not zombified, you will die. Got it? Good. Unaleska has a pattern in this phase. It goes like this. Mega Death, followed by Hellbitter or Regen, followed by Hellbitter, followed by Mind Blast, followed by Hellbitter or Curaga. And then she repeats. Unfortunately, on my first try, I use a Holy Water right after Mind Blast to try and heal, and she proceeds to use Curaga, which means I am not zombified and die to Mega Death. Next time I lose track of the turns and I heal zombie before Mind Blast so I can heal. And I never get zombified back. In another one I just died to Curaga because I was zombified and she one-shot me. After some luck I eventually do take her down as I get the RNG gods to once again bless me. And I always get the Hellbitter and no Curaga. Thank you, Lord. And I eventually take her down with fire gems, lightning gems and all the items and get the hell out of this place. Alright, good old airship. As soon as you're allowed to, enter the passcode, Victorious, and go into the Besaid Ruins 1 in order to get the Victorious armor for Rikku, which will protect you from 3 of the elements. I use my water gems from Gagazet to customize water gems and am now immune to every element. Time for the sin fights now. First two, very simple. Haste up, bring him closer, spam all the gems. Negation will eventually remove your buffs, and after a turn of charging you will use Gravija, which will bring you very low, but cannot kill you. Try to overkill the first fight for 2 HP spheres. I was not able to, regardless of what I had, as I had no shiny gems, so I had to settle for 1, which is fine. The Sin spawn on the third fight is very weak to fire and does very little damage. A couple fire gems will kill it easy. And then the final Sin core can just do Gravija and basic elemental spells, but is once again extremely weak. Can still do negation. Just spam whatever you have and heal if needed. Overdrive Sin is another story altogether. The fight was going great at first, however it is still a race against time. By the time I reached my final turn, he is still at over 30,000 HP. So right now I do not have the items to beat this thing. I could have just farmed millions of gil and used spare change, but I have a life. So Omega Ruins it is. I grind until Rikku reaches the end of her grid, I get quick pockets and bribe, and then I farm for 400,000 gil, which I immediately grind the poor Oboros, aka the bombs, and they are greedy balance, so I need to give them 1 more gil. For that I get 26 shining gems, which is not a big number. However, I don't want to grind for more gil, so time to make it work. This will have to last for the rest of the game. Back to Overdrive Sin. I use some of my shiny gems, and then so I can save some of them for the remaining fights, I throw all my money at the whale and finish it off with some fire gems. This time I end the fight with plenty of time left. Petrify Grenade the weaker mobs inside Sin, run from the behemoths if you want to, if you're feeling brave, use Protect, you'll eventually kill them. I do have enough HP to survive Meteor, however it will be an item sink as they do have 64,000 HP, so I just run from them. At this point, Seymour Omnis is completely screwed. Rikku is immune to all his elemental attacks, so I am just able to use my items and spare change for damage. Eventually it does dispel me and starts preparing for Ultima. I immediately use the Lunar Curtain and am therefore able to survive Ultima, and eventually, for the final time, I beat Seymour. Good riddance, get out. I eventually wobble my way through the final level, running from everything, There is nothing really that I want. There is a Mega Elixir in the chest, but nothing that I actually am worried about. I take the time to avoid every single crystal, and I get ready to fight Brasco's final Aeon. And what a fight! I of course buff up, use the gold hourglass to inflict slow on the pagodas and go to town on him. At this point I finally have a stoneproof armor from the Demonoliths in the Omega Ruins that I got off screen, I didn't even notice, so I am feeling confident. First phase goes down with shining gems, and the second part is another story altogether. He can now use a sword swipe, which will delay me, which means I barely have enough turns to keep up. On my first phase I also buffed up with a stamina tablet, because in the second one, his normal overdrive can actually one-shot me. So with the stamina tablet that I got all the way back in the Moonflow, I can survive all of his attacks. However, it is a race against time. I got limited items. I eventually survived the ultimate check shot and kill it with the Poison Fang to seal the deal. And that, my friends, is the final boss of the challenge. The Aeon's just tied to a shining gem, and Yevon, like always, it's a complete joke. I just wait for him to use Gravija until he gets low enough to get a shining gem to the face and die. And there we go. Second character to defeat the game solo. Kinda. And if you enjoy this and you enjoy my content, like I said at the start, do leave a like and a subscribe, leave a comment down below and share the video around. And of course, like always, I will see you all later. Take it easy.